Butler has uniquely influenced the lives of every member of this community, past and present. Here we hold the values of humility, passion, unity, and self-improvement in high regard, and those values help define who we are and what our alumni go on to become. Michael Hull is one such alumnus. He is deeply committed to the Butler way and to making our world a better place. Michael is a pediatrician, advocate, and entrepreneur. He was a double major in biology and Spanish at Butler. While here, he founded Ambassadors for Children and Timmy Global Health, and he was active in Delta Tau Delta. After earning his bachelor's degree, Michael went on to Stanford University, where he earned his MBA and Doctor of Medicine. In 2016, he was named to the Forbes 30 Under 30 list. Today, Michael is at the University of Texas, where he is a joint faculty at their medical and public policy graduate schools. He's starting a street pediatrics team that finds the hard-to-reach kids in homeless shelters, gangs, jails, and alleyways. In short, he's living the Butler way. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Michael Hull back to Butler.
Hello, Bulldogs. Let me hear a little more of that noise if you're proud of Butler University. Yeah. I am fired up to be here today because I've been listening to these speeches and watching these videos, and it sounds like it's an awful good day to be not only an old Bulldog, but a new one, or a future one too. People who know me well will tell you that I lovingly, perhaps nauseatingly, refer to this place as my second home. I bleed Butler blue, and I'm damn proud of it, and so to be able to stand up here and to say a few words about this place that I love while wearing my very favorite pair of Butler Bulldog underwear is pretty special. I got a pin. I didn't know, Shelley didn't tell you what the tattoo was. I am sure that it's the Bulldog. I got to get one of those. Thank you, President Danko, Mrs. Danko. You make us all so proud. And thanks to each of you who breathe life into this place that I love. Speaking of things I love real quick, my parents are here today, and it's their 34th wedding anniversary. And so if you wouldn't mind, I stand up here today on the shoulders of those two little lovebirds, the shoulders of my heroes. I will tell you that they often, on occasion, will let you know that my first home, their home, was a little cheaper place to stay and study than my second home. But it was worth it. President Danko asked me to say a few words today about how Butler University changed the course of my career. But the truth is that it changed a whole heck of a lot more than that. In 2005, I found myself in a dusty hut on the other side of the world with a 3-year-old, barely alive little girl in my arms. And everything changed. Butler University, when I was a freshman, allowed me to have my heart broken for the very first time by this issue that has since become so very central to my life's purpose and work. This tragedy, this injustice, this infuriating persistence of child poverty. Butler took me on a medical brigade to the developing world in the mountains, and they put me, this really skinny, awkward kid, with a nurse in charge of triaging patients as they came into our makeshift clinic. And things were going pretty well for a couple days until I found myself in a dusty hut on the other side of the world with a 3-year-old, barely alive little girl in my arms. You see, her brother, an 11 or 12-year-old little boy, had noticed that his sister looked sick that morning, and so he swooped her up from their hut in the village, and he carried her down a mountainside for a few hours to a clinic with a Butler freshman. And when he got to our clinic, and I'll never forget this, he stumbled through the door, he laid his wilted sister in my arms, and he just said, "Please. Please." Fortunately, the doctors that were with me swooped her up. They took her to the back. They discovered that she had what we call septic shock, a really overwhelming infection of her blood. They pumped her full of fluids and antibiotics, and within a matter of a few hours, they saved that little girl's life. And looking back, I'll tell you that it was very special to me to be able to know that the things that I was learning in Gallahue Hall, our science building, could be applied on the fringes of our world and actually save somebody's life. But I'll also say that it wasn't knowing that that little girl was sick and then seeing her get better that actually changed me. It was the little boy. A little boy with his own hopes and dreams for the world, just like mine, who out of love, out of very pure love, trekked down a mountainside to save the life of his sister. Because in his world, because of where he was born and no other fault, he was afforded no other choice. The contrast between my life and that little boy's life, my life especially at a place like Butler, where I had every reason to succeed because of people like all of you in this room, that contrast is what broke my heart. And to tell you the truth, Butler has been highlighting those contrasts for me ever since, from the moment I returned from that trip. It put me, a boy from an 800-person farm town in rural Indiana, in classrooms with people from every discipline and every background and every political party, and it forced me to widen my worldview. It pushed me beyond comfort, and it taught me to dream big, not just for myself, but for others too, especially kids. And so, indebted to this university forever, I've spent the last, I suppose, decade or so picking up the pieces of that heart and trying to build them into things that would address the upstream causes of child suffering, how we structure our policies or budgets or communities or businesses that trickle down the mountainsides to the bedside, where I see child suffering every single day right here in the United States, the richest country on earth. And what I want everyone here to understand today is that everything I have done, everything I do or will do, started right here. Butler taught me how to lead people and how to build things. She taught me how to raise money and how to organize and how to listen to folks I disagree with and how to learn from folks I disagree with. And I think consistent with the Butler way, she taught me how to serve. I asked myself in preparation for these remarks how to serve best. What would be said if I just let the Butler way spill through, if I let that source of courage within each of us? What if I let her do the talking instead? And so here it goes. Hinkle Fieldhouse seats about 9,000 people. The next time you go there, I want you to picture this. I want you to look around, and I want you to imagine if we built a place, a stadium, 38 times bigger than Hinkle. Because if we did that, it still wouldn't hold all the children in the United States, in this state of Indiana, all the Hoosier children growing up poor. More than 345,000 children in Indiana, that's 1 in every 5 of our kids, by the way, faces increased risk of worse health, doing worse in school, living a shorter life. And that's not okay with me. It doesn't sit very well. And I would imagine, looking around and seeing a lot of familiar faces here, that it doesn't sit well with any of you. What kind of university do we want to be? What kind of students and alumni and trustees, professors? What kind of citizens are Butler Bulldogs? Today, we gather to affirm the greatness of our university, not because of her campus's beauty or the dominance of her sports teams, or the rigor of her curriculum. Our pride for this place is based on a very simple premise that the Butler Way, this common thread binding each of us here, demands that what starts deep in here changes the world. That's the Butler brand. And so what would it look like if our schools were not just plain good at liberal arts and communications and science and dance, but that we also were fiercely focused on being just plain good at bringing the poor into those discussions, into those reportings, into those research or performances? What if pharmacists here discovered not just medicines, but also new ways to get those medicines to people living in the shadows of our shiny university? When first-year business students develop business plans, what if more of them were focused on social enterprises, not just focused on making profits, but having societal impact too? Imagine the ripples of good from this place if Bulldogs took an even bigger lead for their neighbors in need. That's the Butler I know. Folks, our fellow Bulldogs come in all shapes and sizes, and from my perspective, there are little boys and little girls from the mountains of the developing world to just a few blocks from here who cannot wait on folks like you any longer, or like me. My prayer today, for any Bulldog, new or old, is that you leave this place and you go and do something for somebody who just might not ever have the chance to sit in the seat that you're sitting in right now, or stand on the stage like I'm standing up here right now. May this university be a beacon for academia, athletics, and social good, and may the Butler Way continue to be that righteous wind at our backs. Thank you very much, everybody. And go Bulldogs!